Right, so we're going to now race through the end of this PowerPoint together, and I would still like you to complete the tasks as some practice and then apply that to your own piece. So I want to quickly talk about dialogue. This is one thing that I see kids muck the structure up all the time. So I'll get you to do this task on your own. The main thing I want to speak to you about right now is how we structure dialogue. I've written up a really quick example of what it looks like. That's me, right. Okay, so have a quick look. Jared looked at his son and smiled. Nice mark, he called. Hayden beamed. Thanks, Dad. He spun the footy in his hands, raised and lowered it a couple of times. You ready? Ready. Hayden aimed, took a few trotting steps and booted the ball. It soared through the sky, arcing up and up, straight as an arrow. Jared didn't have to move an inch. The ball thudded square onto his chest. Whoa, nice one. Getting good, aren't I? All right, calm down. Sheesh, your head's going to get so big you'll be dragging it along the field behind you. Jared launched a wobbly kick and it dribbled pathetically on the ground. Hayden laughed as he scooped it up. You're just jealous, old man. Right, so what I want you to look at in particular is key new speaker equals new line. So here I have got Jared is doing an action and then he speaks, so he can remain on the same line. Now Hayden's taking his turn to speak. That means that I have to leave a space. I need to drop it to the next line to indicate that someone else is speaking. All right, so Hayden's beaming. Thanks, Dad, he says. And now Hayden continues the action. Because Hayden's continuing that action along with his speech, he can remain on the same line. He speaks again. It's not a new speaker. So this all remains as one section. Now I line drop it to ready. Here, the line drop is, even though I haven't said who's saying it, the line drop indicates that it is Jared who is now speaking. Okay, so your line drops are really important. And when you do them appropriately, it means that you don't have to clog up all of your writing with Jared said, Hayden said, Jared said, Hayden said. That gets really boring and it gets clunky, and Maloof doesn't do it. All right, so this is important. Use your line drops. So Jared has spoken here, and now Hayden is doing the action. So I line drop again because Hayden's separate. Hayden doesn't speak here, Jared does. So I line drop it again. Okay, so I'm hoping that that structure is really clear to you. Again, I don't need to say who says it because the line drop is taking care of that for me. You need to put that in sometimes, don't get me wrong. You can't have pages and pages where you don't say who is speaking, but you should be able to utilize those line drops so that you don't need to clog up your writing with them all the time. So I hope that's clear. Go back and reference this if you require it, just to get your feeling around it. And on the PowerPoint, this one, on the PowerPoint, look at these pages that I've suggested, and you don't need to answer these questions in writing, but as you read it, just have a look. How many times is Maloof saying said or a similar word? How do you know who's speaking? It should be through those line drops. What structural patterns will you need to consider in your writing? What's the pace of the dialogue? Is it long, sweeping speeches or is it short, sharp? Who's dominating the conversation? How can you tell? How's emotion conveyed through speech? So just have the consideration as you go through. And once you've done that, you can do this task. So what I'd like you to do, doesn't have to be long, like it can be as short as what I just did here. Oops, oh my gosh. Anyway, it can be as short as this. Half a page of a bit of dialogue, just so that you're getting your practice up. I'd like you to imagine the conversation that occurred between Achilles and Hector before that fatal confrontation. Hector, just to remind you, when Hector proposes terms of combat and is rejected, Hector is saying to Achilles, whoever dies, the person who kills them has to agree to honour the burial rites. And Achilles, of course, says nah and kills him anyway and defiles the body. So a brief practice of dialogue with Hector basically begging for the bodies to be respected and Achilles being, you killed Patroclus, I don't think of you and won't respect you at all. Right? If you like that, as you get into writing that and you're still a bit stumped as to what a story could be, why not continue that dialogue in your draft and submit that? That would be a great opportunity to talk, to discuss some of Malouf's themes. So definitely do that if you want. Right, so that's dialogue. Any questions, let me know, and please do submit your sample. Just do it in OneNote again so that I can have a look and just see that practice taking place. Finally, sensory language, really important. And as this might be something that once you get the crux of your draft done and you've got the plot, this might be something that actually takes place a little bit more in the redrafting time where you really put in your description. So sensory language is your 5 senses, your taste, sight, sound, touch, smell. This is supposed to help us get into the mindset of the character. So when we're seeing what Achilles sees, we're smelling what he smells, tastes what he tastes, hears what he hears. Same with your character, okay? So if you've got a character who is sitting alone at their dining table waiting for their husband to come home because they think he's cheating on her or something like that, and you're hearing the clock ticking slowly as you're waiting for him to come home, you're smelling your dinner that you've slaved over in the oven that's going cold or whatever it is. But put me in that moment through the senses. Malouf uses this technique a lot. I'll get you to do this on your own. Read the opening of the novel on page 3. So quickly do that now. Pause it here. Read page 3, and then we'll continue this. So pause now. Okay, so you've read page 3, and here I've given you some of the sensory language that I could find. So we've got sight. The sea surface bellies and glistens a lustrous silver blue. We've got sound. The sea has many voices. The voice this man is listening for is the voice of his mother. Touch. Turns his face to the chill air he had hung curled in a dream, rocked and comforted. And tastes. Tastes its sharp salt on his lip. So all of this is designed to place us into the mindset of Achilles. And it's teaching us something. This is what I've written here. So it's teaching us that he is yearning for his mother. He's wanting to hear her voice. He's remembering, see here, he had hung curled in a dream, rocked and comforted. So we've got that idea of being rocked like a baby by his mother, that comforting touch. The ocean and his mother represent safety. The air and the land beyond contain pain and hurt. I think that that's an interesting idea, that the sea represents his mother. It is lustrous, it is blue, it rocked and comforted him. Now that he's out of the ocean, he's out of that safety, it's sharp, it's salty, there's a bitterness to it. His current situation is harsh. The air is chill. The salt taste is sharp. So we've just discussed that now. So do the same thing, but fill this table out yourself. So read pages 26 to 27. This is the scene of Hector's defilement when he's being, dragged through the dirt. And have a go at this yourself, just so that you can see how Malouf is hitting all of these senses. And the idea here is that we're supposed to kind of recoil, quite physically recoil from the brutality of what Achilles is doing to Hector. Once you've done that, we're done in terms of this PowerPoint. So you'll have gone through and you'll have tried out describing setting, describing character description, dialogue, and experimenting with sensory language. That means that you are emulating Malouf's style. So just to remember, Maloof's writing is highly descriptive and lyrical, okay? So that's where all those punctuation marks are going to come in and that description. Consider your sentence lengths and structures. You need to be in control of your punctuation and you need to vary your sentence lengths. So if you've got a really strong point to make, short sentence, then describe it through that long lyrical sentence structure. You need to think about the human elements you're exploring. The piece is an exploration of humans as they struggle through hardship and question their identity. To think about the humanity of our characters, that's where you need to get us into their head. That's where you need to use that sensory language so that I can really empathize with your character. And use symbols and figurative language. So figurative language, similes, personification, metaphors, the sensory language, all of those are really important. If you can, if a symbol works really well for you, that would be good. Like throughout Ransom, he uses the symbol of the mill to kind of represent simplicity and purity. So if you've got some kind of symbol that you want to, maybe your character has a necklace that they wear that's really important, or I can't even think. Maybe there's a child who symbolizes a lost youth, etc. Or someone's wearing a wedding ring because they've lost their husband, and that's what the tie that keeps them there. Or they feel shackled. Maybe the wedding ring becomes a what do you call it? Like a chain in a sense. They feel completely trapped in their marriage. Different things that you can do just to emulate Maloof. So I hope that this has helped. Once you've gone through and done those samples, those little practices, so that I can see them working, you've got the rest of the double to be working on your draft. And I would really like to see you putting some of this stuff into your draft and go back through these tasks and review them when you redraft, when you do your second or third edit to make your piece really strong. Well done, and we'll talk soon. Great, thanks.